Get your popcorn ready. The Midsummer Classic's here. First pitch is next, guys. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 38 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pite, and with me, as always, the four-seam fastball co-host, Will Sism. Will, I am. How you doing, man? Feel like it's been a while.
It does feel like it's been a little while. But hey, we're doing well. All-Star break is just about here.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. We've got some loaded rosters for the American and the National League, and we're going to talk Home Run Derby in this episode, and actually have a lot to talk about leading into the All-Star game too, so I think this is going to be a good one.
I mean, slow down, baseball. I think we're on game 90 or 91 for most teams, so, dude, it's going to be like playoff crunch time before we know it. We are sliding into the third quarter of the baseball season. I don't know how I feel about it. You know, obviously, on one hand, I'm super excited because we have gotten some really awesome teams shaking out this season. But, man, I'm going to miss it. I already miss it. Let's enjoy it while it's here, though. We're going to talk a little overview for this episode. We'll start with where do we stand. We're going to look at the standings and talk about, you know, who's rising, who's falling. Then we'll do our Heat Check Player of the Week. That, of course, is talking about the hottest bats in the league, who's going off and who maybe can help your fantasy team. What's on the grill with Will? We got some interesting topics I want to go over with Will, grab his opinion on. And then we have our final edition of Studs and Duds. I don't know when we'll dust it back off, but we have finally made it to the relief pitcher edition. And then we're going to go over the Roman Candle player selection from last week. 7-1. 7-1. Will is, I would say, securely in the lead. He must feel good about that. But, you know, we're going to battle back, and maybe we definitely have a discussion. I looked at the numbers, and we have a discussion. So stay tuned for that, guys. Let's get rolling with where do we stand. Will, how do you feel about that?
I'm good with it. Sounds like a good plan to me.
All right. Well, the reason why I asked is because I was concerned about you, okay? We're going to start in the American League East, okay? We have your Tampa Bay Rays. And I don't know if people out in America know this, okay? In other places, really. I mean, anywhere. Tampa Bay has not won a game of baseball in the month of July. We are knocking on day number 8 right now, okay? We're wrapping that puppy up. They're on a 6-game losing streak. We're still riding tall, though, dude, at 57-34. 2.5 games up on Baltimore, who are 53-35. You have the Blue Jays and Yankees tied. Same record, 49-41. 7.5 games back at first. And then the Boston Red Sox, boy, 47-43. That's good enough for first place in a couple of divisions, but it's good enough for last in the East. And the Central, again, dude, you got Cleveland flip-flopping. I feel like every day I look at it, there's a different team in first. You've got the Guardians 45-44, Minnesota at 45-45. Detroit and the White Sox are hanging in 5.5 and 8 games back at first. And then Kansas City, still playing baseball, still love that stadium, but that is about all the positive things I can think to say. In the West, speaking of positive things, the Texas Rangers had a little bit of a shaky week, but are still holding on to that top spot. Houston's on their tail, though, 2.5 games back. They are 49-40. Got Seattle climbing up the standings at 44-43. They have crept above 500. And then the Angels, man, they are dealing with some injuries, and they're kind of hurting. They've slipped to 500. And then, of course, Oakland. They have 25 wins. There was a moment in time this year where we didn't we didn't think that might not happen for, you know, maybe until September. Broad strokes, man. How are you feeling? How are you feeling on your Rays?
Yeah, they've hit a little bit of a skid lately for sure. Overall, I think that the All-Star break's coming at a good time for them. Kind of regroup.
Yeah.
You know, and then come back out here in the next week or so when we resume the regular season play, and kind of get that momentum back. I am a little bit nervous, though. I mean, that division, we've talked about it being so good. I mean, Baltimore's kind of still right on their heels. The thing that I don't like about kind of the last couple of weeks for the Rays is I feel like they had an opportunity to really almost like, I mean, I understand mathematically it's not feasible, but like realistically, I feel like if the Rays would have continued that momentum and played really well over these last 2 to 3 weeks, they could have almost in theory, eliminated the Yankees and the Blue Jays from, any thoughts about the division. But obviously that's not the case. I think that they've actually left the door open or slightly cracked, I guess, for those teams if they were to get super hot in the second half. But ultimately, I think it just comes down to the Rays. They've got the talent. They just got to start playing really good baseball again. And I do think some injuries are, catching up to them. So hopefully they can use the All-Star break to kind of get healthy again.
Yeah, just tough news with Rasmussen, who's having his, I think, third elbow surgery in his career. So he'll be out the rest of the season. They still, I don't know, man. They've run into a kind of a buzzsaw of teams. Seattle has been turning around. We just talked about playing pretty solid baseball. And then the Phillies, I mean, very streaky team. They've won 9 of 12 games. And so, they were competitive games. I wouldn't be worried if I was, obviously, a Rays fan. It's all in front of them, dude. Like we always say, they control their own destiny. It was escaping me, but we always say it, so I know it's in there. So yeah, dude, it's gonna be okay. I mean, obviously.
What are your thoughts on the West? Shifting gears to the West, like, what do you think? How do you see the West playing out?
Dude, okay, here's the deal. I don't really understand how Houston's doing it from a starting pitching position, but man, I would be nervous. Okay, you have Jordan coming back eventually. He took batting practice a couple days ago. You had Altuve, who was healthy for a little bit, but never really hit his stride before getting hurt again. I do think it's pretty much a two-team race. I'm not worried about Seattle. I know they're playing pretty well right now, and we've been waiting all season for them to go. But I think it's the two teams in Texas. I still believe in the Rangers. I still think they have what it takes. Obviously, we talked about last week they made the move for Chapman to bolster up that bullpen. But I think it's a two-team race, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think the two teams in Texas are, it's going to be one or the other for sure. Here's the thing. I think Houston's got to have a really productive second half out of Christian Javier.
Yeah.
I think it's asking a lot. I think Framber Valdez is legit. He's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
But Christian Javier has really struggled these last few starts. And Houston is going to really need him to recapture that really dominant form that he showed a year ago.
Yeah.
I think to kind of hang in there. And obviously it's going to hinge on what they do at the deadline as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's asking a lot to, pin your hopes on Hunter Brown and Brandon Belak and those guys that they're using at the back end of the rotation right now due to injury. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I tell you what, the Angels, I know we've been giving them a little bit of love the last couple of weeks, but man, it is tough right now for Anaheim because they've lost Trout for at least a month or month and a half, if not more. Shohei's got the whatever it is, cracked fingernail, which is affecting his pitching right now.
Yeah.
Rendon's hurt again. And tell you what, man, the Angels are in the exact spot that they do not want to be in because everybody's going to start talking these next few weeks. What are you going to do with Shohei again? And they're in that no man's land because they're just close enough to realistically say, well, we've still got a shot at the playoffs, but then they've dropped off far enough to where it's like, all right, do they realistically have a shot of the division? Do they have a shot at the playoffs? So, man, the Angels are in a tough spot.
Right. Well, here's the deal. The trading deadline is August 1st. Trout's not going to be back by then. I mean, they're looking at mid-August, late August for Trout to heal. They are going to have to to me, the GM, I mean, he went from saying, we're not moving him. There's, no way we're going to ride this out. We're still going to try and sign him. And, I mean, like we talked about, that is, if you keep him, you pretty much have to sign him. I mean, you can't just let him walk. We have said that over and over again. I think the tune's going to change. Look out for like the next week and a half, 2 weeks. If they don't play a better brand of baseball, you are looking at a team that, I mean, it's going to be some of these packages that are going to be tossed their way. I mean, if they're smart about it, it's going to be hard not to move this guy. But it's trading the best player potentially to ever play the game of baseball. And so that's never going to feel good. It's never going to feel good, even though maybe long term it's helping your team. We'll see. I mean, we kind of see it right now with Soto and the Nationals. Soto went to San Diego, got this big prospect package from them. And the Nationals, I mean, they're playing a pretty inspired brand of baseball. They've been a fun team to watch. A lot of that youth is coming up. We still haven't seen some of the main packages or players in that package come up. I'm blanking on the first name, but his last name is Woods. He's a main young guy.
Robert Hassel.
Or Hassel, not why I got Woods on the mind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But man, I tell you what though, the challenge though, when you compare kind of the Ohtani situation with Soto, Soto at least still had a couple of years left on that original contract, and
That's
so
true.
you know the issue with some of these teams that might be potential suitors for Ohtani is you're literally only guaranteed to get him for a couple of months, and so how much are you willing to mortgage your farm system for potentially only 2 to 3 months of having Ohtani before he hits free agency? So I don't know. It's a super interesting scenario. We'll see how it plays out. But man, I don't know if anybody knows what's going to happen just yet.
Yeah. Before we move on to the National League, you want to touch anything in the Central? Or it's just kind of meh.
Yeah, Central is kind of is what it is. I mean, it's gonna the Central's gonna come down to who's going to avoid a bad stretch of like losing 16 out of 21 ball games, and or is there one of those teams that somehow, some way catches fire and wins like 15 out of 22 and starts to separate themselves? I mean, right now, I can't really differentiate between the Guardians, the Twins, and even the White Sox. They're all just kind of average ball clubs to me.
For sure. Well, and like, who's going to make that move? Unfortunately for the Guardians, you hear that Shane Bieber might be gone at the deadline.
I think he very well might be.
I mean, I think he's a free agent either after this season or the one after this. And it's not – he's priced himself out of Cleveland. I don't think that's a surprise. It's very akin to what's happening to Milwaukee and Burns. Dude, he might go. And so you got to picture that team without him. Tristan McKenzie can't stay healthy. That's kind of what makes me nervous. Now, on the flip side, you have the Guardians have a lot of young guys come up like the Tanner Bibees and Logan Allen before, of course, they sent him down. But maybe we see him again. I don't know. So they have a lot of youth. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, listen, when we started the year, we said we just want these divisions to be tight. I don't know how I feel about this. This is like just I don't feel good about it. It's not okay. It's a tight race, but is anybody playing good baseball? Not really.
Yeah.
Not really, Will. I don't know. Let's switch gears to a team that is playing record-setting baseball and have overtaken your Rays for the best record in Major League Baseball. They're up 4-0 right now against Tampa. The Atlanta Braves, and they're going for the 60th win. We are recording on Saturday, so there'll be another game tomorrow, and then it's All-Star break. So this is a team looking at 60 wins before the break. That's unbelievable. What a run. The Atlanta Braves, 59-28. They are 9 games up on Miami, who are 52-39. They're playing a really, really good form of baseball here. We got the Phillies, who we talk streaks. They have started to streak again. They are cruising 48-40. 11 and a half games out of first. Then you have the New York Mets. Maybe they're going to go, maybe not. 42-46. They're 17 and a half games back. And then Washington still rolling. Okay, they're not going to do anything special, but they are fun to watch. They'll put up a good show. Just got swept by the Reds, the next team we're talking about in the Central. They're in first place, 50-40. What a team. You got Milwaukee a game back at 48-42. Chicago Cubs at 41-47. They were kind of going. Now they're kind of not, Will. Kind of a
Yep.
bummer there. Pittsburgh, 40-49. What an April they had, but you haven't seen much from them since.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis, next topic.
Yep.
Yep, we're just moving on. I think they're not doing anything. I think mathematically it's going to be tough for them to even get back to 500. National League West. This is a good one, man. Diamondbacks still hanging on. 52-38. Big walk-off win by the NL Rookie of the Year tonight, Corbin Carroll. 52-38. They're a game up on the Dodgers. The Dodgers will not go away. 50-38. What a solid team. San Francisco, 48-41. They're 3.5 games back at first. Then you got San Diego and Colorado. San Diego, I don't know, 4-6 in their last 10. What are you thinking in the National League?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it all with the Braves. I mean, the Braves just feel like just head and shoulders really above anybody else in the whole National League right now. I mean, really in the whole whole league, I could make that argument for now that Tampa's not playing very well. But, yeah, Atlanta is just – I mean, we talked about this, I think, an episode or two ago. I mean, you just – when you watch the Braves play –
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're even missing a guy like Max Fried and Kyle Wright in that rotation, but it's like it doesn't matter because every game it feels like they're scoring like 6, 7, 8 or more runs.
Yep.
And, I mean, that lineup is just so good. Ronald Acuna is just on another level right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just don't see them slowing down. I mean, I just think they're the class of really Major League Baseball right now with as well as they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the Marlins. The Marlins are – we're going to talk about them more here in just a little bit, but the Marlins are still playing good baseball. But I tell you what, I think the Phillies, honestly, might be the second best team in the National League right now.
Yeah.
Seems like the Phillies have really figured some things out. They're starting to play better. The lineup's starting to hit more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Nola has looked much better in his last couple of starts. If they can get Zach Wheeler to consistently be at the level he was at a year ago,
Yeah.
watch out.
Yep.
I honestly think that the Phillies are the one team in the National League that could, in a 5 or a 7 game series, that could really give the Braves a fight right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out. Central, we said this last episode, it's a 2-team race in my mind. It's the Brewers or the Reds. The Brewers are going to have to pitch their way to the division title. The Reds are going to have to use all that youth and have that lineup kind of carry the weight, especially with a couple of their young arms on the IL now. But that's going to be a fun race to keep an eye on. And then out west, you said it. The West is fun, man. I mean, I think Arizona and LA are both really good teams. I don't think they're anywhere close to the Braves right now. But I think those are two very good teams. I think San Francisco is going to hang in.
Yeah.
And I think everything in the National League as far as wild card stuff goes, I think it hinges on what does San Diego do. Does San Diego have any sort of run in them whatsoever?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that question. They haven't shown that they have a run in them to this point, but they still have all that talent, so we'll see if they can figure something out in the second half.
Yeah, man. San Diego, dude, what do we do? They just DFA'd Nelson Cruz, and I mean, he was like a kind of the lefty killer. He's gonna get that left-handed pitching, and he's gonna be a role model, a leader in that team. And dude, any way you chop it up, it's very akin to the Mets, man. It just has not panned out for this team. It's hard to bet against that top 4. I know we keep saying it, and they throw Cronenworth, the Crone zone in on that, and he has looked very lackluster. I mean, it's like 220s, 230 batting average, not a ton of pop. I don't know. Darvish has gotten roughed up this year.
Yeah, he struggled.
Dude, I just don't know. You start like counting teams and playoff spots, and it's like, okay, would you rather be the Mets or the Padres right now, looking at a wild card spot?
Oh gosh, I mean,
You're like, neither. Can I pick C?
I mean, here's the thing. At least the Mets are starting to figure out and string some wins together.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be pretty every night, but they're at least starting to get some positive mojo going, and I think that means a lot in a clubhouse, especially this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
The Padres just haven't been able to consistently string multiple wins together.
Yeah.
You know, it feels like as soon as they're starting to maybe turn a corner, they blow a lead in the 8th or ninth inning and lose just a game that they should win. And I don't know, man. I mean, I guess to answer your question, I just feel like the Mets have at least shown some signs of life as far as getting multiple wins in the win column. But, man, it's tough for both of those squads right now.
Dude, yeah, I'm with you. Looking at the East real quick, something I saw. Man, this is very interesting. You have, obviously, the Braves playing as well as they are. Miami, which we're going to dive into in a few. They're 9 games back. Do you know what? Well, I put it on the sheet. So if you look at the sheet, you might know it. Okay, I'm going to tell everybody else. Atlanta's record versus Miami is 9-1. So there's the 9 games right there. Head to head, they are just dominating this team. So that's going to be something to look out for. Obviously, in this playoff format, it's a 5-game set. If they meet each other in the playoffs, anything can happen, especially when you guys got like, I don't know. What about the NL Cy Young Award winner, Sandy, okay? Throw Sandy Alcantara at them, and they could be looking down 1-0. And that's pretty, dude, I don't know. It's just going to be wild to see how it plays out. But the Braves are looking at 19 of 21. They've won 19 of 21 games, and if they hold on tonight, they're up 4-0 in the 6th inning. It'll be 20 of 22. Just insane. Just insane stuff. Moving on, Will. Man, dude, I love where you're started. Let's hit the sizzle. Let's hear that bacon.
Man, I love it.
Dude, I mean, you better eat before you come on here because you hear that sizzle. Okay, anybody listening to this during breakfast time, you're welcome. That'll I'll get you what you need. Okay. Let's tell me about this guy. I love this pick by you.
So, yeah, you're talking about sorry about that. So,
No, you okay?
Heat Check Player of the Week.
Yes, sir. Heat Check Player of the Week.
So, I went Red Sox.
Yes.
Just to appease Cody. No, actually, this guy has been rolling lately, and he's kind of turning back the clock, it feels like to me. And I'm going Justin Turner. He has been, I don't know, man. To me, it felt like the first couple of months of the season, it was just kind of blah, just kind of mediocre. It's like, all right, is he starting to get a little bit too old? Those kind of thoughts start, I think, naturally try to enter your mind. But, man, has he picked it up over these past 3 weeks or so. But speaking specifically about the past week, he went 9 for 17, so he's batting over 500 for the week. Get this. He has had at least 1 RBI in 8 straight games. Do you know how hard that is to do? Do you know how hard it is to get a hit in 8 straight games? Much less an RBI in 8 straight games?
Yeah.
I saw that, and I was like, man, I've got to mention this because that is pretty awesome. So, anyways, Justin Turner is my Heat Check Player of the Week.
I love it, man. No, watching him, kind of firsthand, dude, this team has gone as he has, and he's putting together a really great first year. That contract, which I think was 2 for 15, is really looking solid for the Red Sox. And it wasn't a trade because they were both signed as free agents, but J.D. Martinez went over to the Dodgers and essentially had the same role Justin Turner had. Of course, Justin Turner is not just a DH; he can spot Rafi a day or two at third base. It's worked out for both sides, but man, he really has. You wonder how he's going to do. I mean, he was the heart and soul and leader of that team for a lot of years in L.A. And you see him come to Boston, which is another high-profile city, and man, he has done everything and more that we could hope for him to do. So very exciting. Will, my Heat Check Player of the Week, man, I was combing through a few names. And I have one stock of this guy in fantasy, and it is Ronald Acuna Jr. And to be honest, you just set him in there. You don't ever dream of taking him out. You just make sure the Braves are playing. So I haven't dove into his statistics, and he's had a great week. But what he's done this season is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. 333 average, 21 bombs, 54 RBIs, 41 steals. He's on pace to steal over 70 bases.
Yep.
43 walks to 49 strikeouts. He has no holes in his game. He is the number one ranked fantasy player
by a mile.
In any. We thought Judge had a great year last year.
Yeah.
He did. But it is a Judgian kind of moment where the gap between first and second and the gap between second and third is so different. Dude, it's been unbelievable. I don't know. This is everything we could have hoped from this guy if he could stay healthy. He's batting leadoff. He's got 54 RBIs. Dude, man.
Yeah, I mean, he hits for power. He steals bases. You don't get in fantasy. You don't get credit for defense, but he's arguably got the best arm for an outfielder in all of Major League Baseball. Him and maybe Mookie Betts. I mean, it's just, it is insane. The year that he's having. I mean, I'll speak for like our home league. The guy who has him in our home league, he's got a good team, but if he didn't have Ronald Acuna, it would be a totally different story. I mean, anybody who has Ronald Acuna on their team right now, it's almost like you have two players in one in a sense because he's so much better than everybody else right now. It really is almost like having a player and a half every single night when you have him in your lineup because he consistently does things that no one else is doing. Obviously now if somebody has Shohei Ohtani in a league to where you get him both as a pitcher and a hitter, that's a little bit different story. But I'm just saying when we're talking about Ronald Acuna and assuming that Shohei is a pitcher and then a different player as a hitter, like for fantasy purposes, I mean, there's nobody in the league fantasy-wise like Ronald Acuna Jr. right now.
Yep, without a doubt. I would tell you this. I have seen leagues where Ohtani can be both, but I have not seen leagues where his statistics count batting-wise on the days that he pitches, if that makes any sense. So if you set him in the pitching thing, and the reason why I bring that up is he's had like 8 home runs on starts that he's pitched this season. So I have him in a league like that, and I'm like, darn it. Like, you almost want to leave him in, but it's a points league. You can get so many points from his start. But, man, it is anyway, back to Ronald. He's
amazing.
He's 1-1, dude. And if you're in a keeper league, I mean, I might throw everything at whoever has this guy. He's young enough.
He's worth it.
I mean, seriously, especially if you're not in contention. I mean, throw your two best players, first-round pick, whatever you can do. I don't think there's an asking price that's too high for this guy.
No, I would agree. I mean, he's just I don't know. I just feel like that Acuna is what everybody really, really wants Tatis to be.
Yeah.
But Tatis isn't quite there yet. Tatis has the raw skills, but it's going to be really hard for him to match the production, in my opinion, that we're seeing consistently night in, night out from Acuna this year.
Yep. Hey, last thing I'll say, 7 years, $100 million.
Bargain.
That's what it's the biggest. It's like a freight train robbery. I don't even know. It's the most insane thing ever. Obviously, it's life-changing money, $100 million. But, dude, he'd be hitting free agency in a couple of years, if not next season.
And we'd be talking about him getting the $500 million contract.
Yep. It's pretty wild. I mean, he'll still, team option in 2027.
I think the Braves will pick that one up.
Oh, without a doubt. And then there's another one in 2028 for $17 million. So
wow.
He's going to be locked down in Atlanta until 2028. We'll see him free agency 2029. I will be doing some quick math here. 2029, 633. Yep. Okay, look, see, I know it's people can do math backwards, figure out how old I am, Will. Okay, let's move on to the next segment of our show, and I figured it'll work better if I actually announce it this time. What's on the grill with Will? Let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's talk about the fish, man. It's summertime. People are out there grilling fish. We're talking about the Marlins that are getting hot, dude. One of MLB's hottest teams, boasting a record of 52-39, second best in the NL East. They are an impressive 21-6 in one-run games. So they're doing it with great pitching, bullpen, and just enough from that offense, led by Luis Arraez. Look, guys, talking. We're gonna get there. It's been insane to watch. One thing we want to bring up, though. They just sent down their top pitching prospect, Yuri Perez. Now, he has been absolutely lights out. 5-3 with a 2.36 ERA and a 1.09 whip. He has 61 Ks in 53 innings. We kind of had a little bit of back and forth in the middle of the week about this. I believe this happened on Wednesday. And he was lights out again. Gave up a couple runs. Took the loss because the Marlins didn't score against the Angels. But give me your thoughts on this, dude. Is this the right time for this move?
Oh man, this is tough. I mean, here's my thing. I totally understand the innings limit. Like I get it. As a fan of the game, I don't love it, but I totally understand it from an organization standpoint and for the long-term health of a young pitcher in this case. Like I get it. And I'm not opposed to the innings limit for a guy like this, obviously. Here's my issue, though. Yuri Perez, when you watch him pitch, he's one of the top arms and one of the top talents in the major leagues. Like, this guy, if you watch him pitch, this guy is legit.
Yeah.
Very polished. Great fastball, really good off-speed stuff, really good control. And my thing is when a guy comes to the major leagues and has as much sustained success as we've seen out of Perez so far this year, I don't love the fact that the Marlins are sending him back down.
Yeah.
It would be different if he was just kind of mediocre or if he was really up and down. I get it. And I understand the Marlins are, they're doing it because they're able to really control his innings in the minors. I get it. But why can't we do it in a little bit different way? Why can't, since he was borderline dominant at the major league level, why can't they move him maybe to the bullpen, for example? Use an opener on days that they want to pitch Perez. Let the opener go maybe 2 innings. Bring Perez in, and let's say the 3rd inning. Let him pitch 4 or 5 innings to get you to the 7th or 8th inning.
Yeah.
And that way you're able to essentially specifically map out days that Perez is going to pitch. You easily can have a pitch count on him, however you want to handle that. And you're able to still benefit from his talent at the major league level. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. The Marlins are in the playoff hunt.
Correct.
And this is one of their best players.
Yeah.
And so I understand the innings limit, but I just don't understand why you're bringing a talent like this, why you bring him up in the first place. He dominates. And then you're sending him down. I just don't like I don't know. If I was a veteran on that team, I would feel like, man, we're losing one of our best players here. And so I don't know. I just don't love it. I feel like there's a better way that this could be handled.
Yeah, I definitely feel your pain. Let me hop in the Wayback Machine. We kind of talked about this, but I maybe want to frame this a different way. Steven Strasburg, okay, came up in 2010. Obviously had one of the most, I don't even know the word, media sought after debuts against the Pirates. Pitched 68 innings that season to a 2.91 ERA. So not dissimilar from what Perez was doing. I don't know if you remember what happened. This was a solid team back then, and they shut him down for the playoff. They just didn't pitch him the rest of the season. So I guess my thought is, because Perez is at 53 and a third innings, he's never pitched more than 76 in a professional season, and I believe that was single A. So it's been a couple years. I understand why they do it. Obviously, it's a tough pill to swallow, but I guess my question is would you rather see him maybe in September again and help for the playoff push? If you're a Marlins fan, where do you land on that? I think that's their plan, I guess is my point.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but, here's kind of my thoughts on it, though. Like, I mean, if he goes down to, let's say, AAA, and he's down there for, in spot starts, innings capped at, whatever, 4 or 5 innings whenever he starts, facing AAA, and don't get me wrong, AAA is professional baseball. There's some great players in AAA, but it ain't the majors.
I actually went to Double A too. Yeah.
Right. So you're telling me that, all right, we're going to send Yuri Perez down for a couple of months to the minors. We're going to give him whatever amount of innings down there. We're going to bring him up for September. Let's assume the Marlins are still in the playoff race, and then let's just say hypothetically they get matched up against the Braves. Yeah. So you're going to send Yuri Perez, who's been now facing AAA batters for, a couple of months, and in steps Ronald Acuna Jr., the leadoff hitter in Game 1 of the NL Division Series. It's like I don't know. I just don't love it. I think that there could have been a way that they could have still managed his innings in a way still at the major league level. I mean, just because my whole thing is this is one of your best players.
Right.
And surely there's a way that if you're still going to pitch him in the AAA level, why not get those innings at the major league level, whether that's out of the bullpen, as a, an opener, as a bridge guy, whatever. So that's just kind of my thing.
Yeah, dude, it's a good point. I don't really get what they do when they're down there. Okay, send them to Double A. I don't think they have him going out and throwing 3 innings because that mess was his stamina. Right? So is he skipping starts?
I would assume.
Yeah.
I would assume that they're going to probably skip a few starts or really limit some innings on certain starts just to kind of manipulate it. I guess this sounds bad, but at the AAA or AA level, they don't care so much about like winning or losing. It's more about
development.
All right, this is a prized prospect. How do we develop him so that he's the best, for the Marlins, whenever he comes back up, if that makes any kind of sense. So, no. I mean, I understand it. I think, where they're coming from. I just don't love it.
No, without a doubt. A couple things. They have some people coming out of the injured list, right? So you have Trevor Rogers, who went to the IL with a shoulder. Edward Cabrera went to the IL with a shoulder. And then Johnny Cueto. Now, none of those names really excite me to the level, obviously, of Yuri Perez. But they're also kind of shuffling him down so they can shuffle them in. Those 3 should be back by mid-August at the latest.
Yeah.
So they're going to be filling a spot with Major League arms. I think it helps that Jesus Luzardo has kind of pulled the reins back in on his season. And then you got Braxton Garrett, who other than like one terrible start has been really, really good.
Yep.
So I think they'll be okay. I'm with you. It stings, but he's 20. In Dynasty, I would say this is a chance to buy low if you can. I don't know that I'd make that move in a redraft league. Because we just don't know. It's
his value takes a big hit in redraft leagues because, I mean, at best, you're going to get very minimal innings from him moving forward at the major league level this year.
Yep.
In the regular season, I should say.
This is true. And I mean, some fantasy leagues are over in like early September, or late August. So he might not even be back by the time, maybe fantasy playoffs. It'd be tough. Depending on the size of your roster, that could be a tough pill to swallow.
Let me ask you this real quick. I know we need to move on, but
dude, let's stay right here.
Just off the cuff, assuming he pitches well, whenever he returns back to the majors, whenever that is this year, going based on what we've seen out of him this year and assuming there's no more innings limits in 2024, where do you think he goes? Like, what range of where would you put him as far as starting pitchers go? Would you put him like top 15, top 25? Like, where do you think?
Yeah, dude. Oh man, that's such a great question. I would say I think it's going to be tricky because you always have somebody, I feel like in every draft, and I've done like 8 of them this year, there's always one person who's super prospect, like happy, like pulls the trigger way too quick. Like Yoshida and Casas and all these guys were gone early.
But we've seen him at the major league level this year, so we
correct.
have.
I would say top 25 starting pitching. If we, especially if guarantee that he's going to pitch the full season. Now, in my opinion, he'll still be on an innings limit last year. Or next year. But I think we're going to build up. It's just like what the Braves did with Strider, in my opinion. So, dude, oh man, this guy's 22, 23. He's going to be a monster.
Yep.
And the Marlins are going to have Sandy and this dude.
Yeah.
And Luzardo. Listen, they have done an incredible job developing pitching. They just need to pull the trigger on some bats, which they've done that.
I think Yuri Perez has top 15 potential as early as next year. I really, really like what I've seen out of Yuri Perez. Like, I think he's going to be very, very good.
He's nasty.
He's already very, very good, but I think he's going to be a guy we talk about for the foreseeable future as being one of the top starting pitchers in the league.
Oh, without a doubt. He's special with his strikeout rate, his Ks per 9. They're all super high in comparison to other people in the league. So we talked about it, man. You don't have to worry about it. If you get the batter out via the K, you don't have to worry about defense behind you making the play. And, man, it must be nice to be a Marlins fan. They've had some lean years, so good for them. Dude, this one. Moving on. Okay, we said last episode we're not going to talk about this guy anymore until something else happens. So we're going to put this to bed, and we're not going to think about it. Alek Manoah is back, baby doll. He made his return to Major League Baseball against the Detroit Tigers last night. Our favorite prodigal son is back. And, dude, he looked sharp. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts. Even had a little swagger walking around the mound, Will. He's up to 73. I checked this morning. 73% rostered. I checked last night before the game, 49%. So he's up 25%, give or take. It's actually 23. A little quick math in my mind there. 23% overnight. Dude, are you back in on this guy? I know he's your favorite. I'm back in.
Let's see how he does against a lineup a little bit better than the Tigers. I will say it was encouraging for all the Alek Manoah fans, and if you still have him rostered on your team, like, it was definitely very encouraging compared to whatever that was we saw in the first half of the season. But for me, I need to see here. This is what I've been saying all along. I need to see him string together 3, 4 quality starts in a row before I'm back and saying, here we go. This is Alek Manoah we saw last year. This is a top 15 starting pitcher. Like, I need to see him be consistently good from this point forward if I'm back on the bandwagon. It can't be what we saw yesterday, and then next start he goes out and gets just shelled in 3 innings and he gets pulled. So
Yeah.
so we've got to start seeing this consistently out of him.
Oh, man. It felt good, though. I will say. I picked him up on so many leagues on Wednesday when I heard he was coming back. Yeah, dude, I'm back in. I just think, you have a year like he had last year, a 2.24 ERA. I mean, I was hardly out on this guy, man. I mean, the door was open, okay? If we're talking in, out of the house, the door was open. I was outside, but I could feel the AC. Something about this guy. I just can't quit him. I cannot quit him. I'm glad that it went as well as it did. I had the game on, dude. I was sitting on every pitch because if this didn't go well, oh, man, I'd written out everything for anybody behind the scenes, peeling back the curtain a little bit. I had written up this point before the game because I was just hoping upon all hope that he was not going to get absolutely torched like we saw, I don't know, against the high schoolers in the Florida Complex League and then earlier this season. Dude, I really couldn't tell. I was just so excited it was going well. I couldn't even tell like what looked different other than just command. I don't think he made any change with his pitch mix.
That's the biggest thing, man. I mean, if he gets that command back with essentially all of his pitch mix, he'll be fine. I mean, the stuff just doesn't leave guys.
Yeah.
But if the command leaves guys, which we've seen in the past, some different examples, if the command leaves, especially if it's multiple pitches, dude, major league hitters are too good. So if he's, maybe it was a simple mechanical fix, and then maybe it was a matter of him getting some confidence back. So if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, there's no reason why, the rest of this year he can't be a solid option, and then especially for next year, it'll be really interesting to see if he does indeed turn the corner this year and look really good from here on out for the Jays. It'll be really interesting to see kind of where his value ends up going into 2024 from a fantasy perspective.
Oh, dude, no doubt. I kind of feel like it won't be affected that much.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we don't forget stuff, I guess, as fantasy baseball players. But if it's the same thing with Michael Harris. Like, if he keeps rolling, which, I mean, he's kind of cooled off a little bit. But if he keeps rolling the way that he is, like, we're all going to forget about the terrible couple of months he had to start this season.
That's right.
Gausman, Bassett, Barrios, Manoah back to form. That is a pretty nasty top four that I would not want to see in the playoffs, man. Look out for the Jays. If this guy starts to click, it might be happening north of the border. Dude, this is what I've been waiting to talk about for the whole episode. All week, really. Since I saw the bracket breakout, it might be my favorite thing. Here's the deal. When it comes to the All-Star game, I just get nervous that players from my favorite team or my fantasy teams are going to get hurt, to be honest. Because Major League Baseball, they don't pull their punches. In the NBA, there's no defense played by any stretch of the imagination. In the NHL, they do the 3-on-3 thing. I don't even want to talk about the NFL. I think it's flag football now. Major League Baseball, man, we're throwing real pitches, and it is a competitive thing. But my favorite thing to watch is the home run derby. So we are bringing predictions your way. We haven't talked about this. Will, I got a bracket right in front of me, dude. I'm going to shout out some names and some numbers, and I want to hear what you got. Coming out of the left side of the bracket, Luis Robert Jr., 26 home runs this year for the White Sox. Man, what a comeback season for him. He has found his power stroke. Versus Adley Rutschman, America's sweetheart with 11 home runs. Who you taking first round?
Man, I love Adley Rutschman. I think everybody understands how much I love him. But he just doesn't strike me as a home run derby guy.
Okay.
And I don't know. Luis Robert has had a really, really good year so far. And he's figured out the power stroke for sure. So I'm going to go against my heart here. And I would definitely give the edge in that matchup to Luis Robert for sure.
I'm with you 100%. I kind of wonder how Adley got in here. I could also see him just dark horsing it.
Yeah,
and
I could
just
too.
having a stroke, and he's poking it over the wall in Seattle, and it's like, son of a gun, this guy is the real deal at hitting home runs. Don't they, excuse me, to kind of break off into, don't they get like $1 million if they win?
I have no idea. I'm sure there's some sort of cash incentive, but
There
I don't
always
know.
was a little something, but I think over the last couple of years, because Pete Alonso wasn't making the All-Star teams. I mean, he did last year, but
I
the
think
2
you're
years
right.
prior.
Yeah.
But he made more money winning the All-Star Home Run Derby than he did in arbitration. He won, he was like 700,000, but he won $1 million. Yeah, it's very interesting. So these guys are going, and they're taking hacks. Let's talk about the second couple of players. And dude, these are both your boys. Adolis Garcia, 23 bombs, to Randy Arozarena, best to ever do it, 16 home runs. Who you taking?
Man, this is a tough one. My heart again wants to go with my Randy Arozarena, but dude, I think Adolis Garcia is like made for this.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna go with Garcia in this matchup. I think he's a guy that if the casual baseball fan doesn't really watch much Texas Rangers before this year and they maybe haven't really seen him play much, I think he has potential to kind of steal the show in the first round or two, in the home run derby. I think he could put on a show.
I like it. Here's the deal. I'm going Randy. And if you're sitting in left field, you better bring your baseball glove because both of these guys are going to be hitting some bombs. I like Randy. I think he's going to be pretty special. Okay, so who do you got coming out of, let's see. So we like Robert versus Garcia. Who do you like coming? They'll be in the finals.
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say that
It's not getting easier. It's not getting softer on this end, dude. This is going to get tough.
Right? I would say in that particular matchup, I'm going to go with Adolis Garcia.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to put, okay, perfect. All right. And I think I would go with Robert. I think he'll be in the finals. So, okay, here we go. We have figured out the left side of the bracket. Let's talk right side of the bracket. And oh my gosh, you speak of this man. I kind of feel like he has a free pass to every home run derby until he doesn't want to. And I mean, he could retire from baseball and still come back and compete. Like he can be like 55. His kids are playing in the league now, but he still comes to every Midsummer Classic to do this. Pete Alonso is back at it again, going for the third home run crown with 26 home runs, and he's going to be going up against Julio Rodriguez, who has half that, 13. Is this as easy as it seems, or is Julio going to surprise us?
All right, so Julio and Pete, this is a tough one because if you remember a year ago, Julio is the one that put on a show in the home run derby. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. I think Pete Alonso is like, if you could create a player that was just specifically made for this event, the home run derby, it's Pete Alonso.
Correct.
And I cannot go against him. So I'm going to go Pete Alonso. But I would not be shocked if Julio beat him. This honestly should maybe be a finals. Yeah. And it's the first round.
I know, dude. It is. It might be the one I'm most excited about. I don't know. It'll be close. And then let's round it out here, Will. Mookie Betts versus Slim Daddy Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Mookie's got 25 home runs. Man, what a year. What a year. We all sleep on this guy because he's just great. And then Guerrero has 13. But will he find his power stroke? Who do you like?
God, this is a tough one. I could see this one easily going either way.
Yeah.
But I do feel like Vlad Jr. is very much kind of made for this event too. So I'm going to give the slight edge to Vlad Jr. in this one. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Mookie won the whole thing. Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like Vlad Jr. might get on a roll, and that's who I'm going to roll with.
Oh, dude, that's a good argument. That's a good argument. I actually put down Mookie, though. So I'm going Mookie. You're going Vlad. I like it. We both went Pete. So you like Vlad or Pete? Woo, that would be a matchup. I think I'm rooting for that matchup. Who you like?
It would be pretty awesome. I I can't go against Pete Alonso in the home run derby. So I think if this matchup materializes, though, I think it is going to be must-watch TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, I literally can't pick against Pete Alonso in the home run derby, so that's who I'm going with.
So, final question: you have Pete Alonso, you have Adolis Garcia. You like Pete?
Oh gosh, I do like Pete.
We're going Pete. Straight
But
Pete.
I tell you what, I'm not going to go straight chalk though. I'm going to go the slight upset. I'm going to pick Adolis Garcia to win the home run derby this year.
There you go. And I'm going Pete. 3 for 4, baby. 3 for 4. I like it. He's just fun to watch, man. When last year they made a pretty big deal about it because it would have actually been a 3-peat. And it was like, Pete's going for the 3-peat. I don't know if you watched it, but he was so intense in the batting cages. And it was just like, dude, this, it's just batting practice. You take it every day. Now, I know it's a little bit more stressful. My thing is always the BP throwers. The people that they have, like Bryce Harper had his dad one year. That's amazing. That's a lot of pressure. So, dude, it's going to be fun. It is one of my favorite things all year, and definitely my favorite thing about the All-Star break. Okay, so we'll get back to you next week and let you guys know how we did. And I hope everybody enjoys that. And I hope you enjoy the final installment of Studs and Duds. We're looking at the relief pitcher position. And if you are totally new to this, if you made it this far and you've never heard this before, Will and I did positional breakdowns, positional rankings going into the season. We looked at the top 40, in our opinion, relief pitchers. And so we've looked back on that list and we've compared it to how these guys have actually performed. The studs are the guys that we nailed or are just performing really, really well. And the duds are the guys that we maybe put up high who haven't been playing that well, but could lead to an opportunity to buy low. So we'll talk about that as well. Let's start with the studs, Will. Felix Bautista, man, and this guy came out of nowhere last year, but man, what a stud. He is just nasty. A 1.07 ERA, a whip under 1 and 0.93. 84 Ks, 23 saves for your Baltimore Orioles. We had him 8th on our list. He's currently pitching to be the best relief pitcher in the game. Dude, thoughts on this guy?
He's been absolutely amazing. I mean, he is amazing. You know what? I was thinking about this earlier. I would have loved to have seen if Edwin Diaz was healthy this year.
Correct.
I would have loved to have seen kind of the side-by-side comparison of stats between what we're getting this year of Felix Bautista and maybe what we hope, what we would have seen from Edwin. Obviously, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But man, Felix Bautista, the only question, last year and leading into this year was the command sometimes kind of goes awry.
Mm-hmm.
But man, he's been amazing.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, Baltimore, I hope they don't wear him out. Yeah. But my goodness, he has been amazing. I mean, you could make a very, very strong argument, even above Edwin Diaz, that Felix Bautista might be the number 1 relief pitcher off the board going into 2024. He's been that good. Yeah,
well, he had a Edwin Diaz-esque first half. I mean, I didn't realize the ERA was where it was at. He's been unreal. But you make a great point. I mean, he's already appeared in 39 games. So that's almost half of this season. And, 5 blown saves, but they haven't resulted in losses. He's only taken 1 loss. So you can say that's him pitching or his team picking him up. Either way, he has been disgusting. And I watched him a lot in April and May, and you're right, the control was the biggest concern, but he seems to really have tightened that up. He's not walking that many people, and he's pitched really well. So very good for Baltimore. We've said Edwin Diaz a couple of times. Here at the next 2 guys we didn't have ranked, guys, in our top 40. Alexis Diaz for the upstart Cincinnati Reds. What a year this guy's having. We didn't have him ranked, just said that. He's currently pitching to the 4th best pitcher. Or relief pitcher in Major League Baseball, a 2.03 ERA, a 1.03 WHIP, 59 Ks, 25 saves. dude is disgusting. He was going to be a deadline still, but man, he's not going anywhere. What do you like?
I mean, he has been, you said it, he's been unreal. Kind of reminds me a little bit of his brother.
Yeah.
When you watch him pitch, I mean, they've got some similarities. He does not quite throw as hard as Edwin, and his slider is not quite as nasty as Edwin, but it's close. But man, he is legit. Obviously, the Reds. I don't know if anybody predicted what was going to happen in Cincinnati this year, but it's awesome. So it's really cool to see him though thrive on a team that's kind of on the up and up. And I think he's obviously established himself as their closer, and he's really established himself as I would say at minimum a top 10 closer in all of Major League Baseball right now. So kudos to him, and you're right. I mean, he ain't going anywhere.
Yep, special, and he does it in that ballpark, man. Which
right.
It's almost as impressive as like a Colorado Rockies closer being really good. And there's not one of those that comes to mind off the dome. So yeah, good for him. Yep, I got nothing else to say other than he's just a lot of fun to watch, man. Dude, it's the coolest thing. They need to find the two of them on a team at one point together.
Yeah.
He and Edwin together would be awesome. Like 8th and 9th would be like so sick. Speaking of sick, this guy's two-seamer and changeup are sick. Yunior Cano, okay? We are talking about our second Oriole of this three-man list, and that should tell you how great they've been playing. He wasn't ranked. I didn't even know his name, dude. Still don't 100% of the time, okay? Still have to practice it before we get on here and say it. But he is currently pitching to be the 5th best reliever. And guess what? He's not even a closer. He's a setup guy. So in saves plus holds leagues or saves and holds leagues, this guy's gold, man. Let's talk about some stats. A 1.48 ERA, a 0.89 WHIP, 38 Ks, 4 saves, 19 holds. Dude, here's the deal. He's been getting roughed up the last couple weeks, and his numbers still look this immaculate. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it. I mean, I know the last couple of weeks have been, not quite. Well, let's just say this. I don't think that the numbers the first couple of months were sustainable. I mean, because they were just insane. I mean, the first 2 months or so of the season, he hadn't given up a run, and I had looked one time, and his WHIP was like .2 something, which
Correct.
is like I've never seen that before out of anybody. For I mean, I know we're just talking about 2 months, but I've never seen a WHIP that low over that period of time before. So I mean, obviously that's not sustainable for anybody, but still, us talking about Cano right now, plus talking about Batista, if anybody hasn't watched Baltimore play and you're kind of wondering how is this team, hanging in with Tampa and beating up on the Yankees and Blue Jays in the AL East, well, these are two really big reasons why. Because if Baltimore gets to the 7th inning and they're ahead, guess what? You're not going to beat them.
Good luck, dude.
Right.
Good luck.
And so, same thing though that I'll say about that I said about Batista. I do worry a little bit about the workload that both Cano and Batista are bearing. I hope this doesn't catch up with them like in September, October, because these guys are insane. I mean, they are legit. Cano would be a closer for about 25 other ball clubs. So, but it's fun, man. The Orioles are going to be good for a while, and these two guys at the back end of that pen is almost unfair.
Dude, no doubt about it. Hey, we got to run a little bit quick, so I'll skip my commentary. But man, he's a lot of fun to watch. And like I said, he's kind of cooled off a little bit, but man, when he was clicking, he was something special. Let's talk duds, man. And I have 3 pretty high-profile names here.
Yeah.
First one is kind of a studly dud. I don't know where I feel on this, but the numbers kind of speak to a guy who's having a little bit of a rough year, man. Emmanuel Class A. This dude looked unhittable last year. He led the league in saves. We had him second on our list behind Edwin Diaz. He's currently pitching to the 211 best relief pitcher. Now, let me just throw this in here, guys. These numbers are out of hand with the relief pitcher, but I just say that to mean he's not pitching to his potential. I know there's not 210 relief pitchers you'd rather have than this guy. I mean, he's 99% rostered for a reason. But here's an ERA for you. 3.46 ERA, 1.18 whip, 37 Ks, 25 saves, 7 blown saves, and he has 5 losses. I don't know, dude. He just looks a little bit more hittable this year. Are you seeing anything you don't like, or what do you got?
Yeah, you kind of said it. I mean, just for whatever reason, it just looks like guys are on him more this year than they were a year ago. I don't know if it's guys that have seen him multiple times now and just kind of, understand how to attack him a little bit more. Because when you watch him pitch, I mean, the stuff doesn't really look all that different. I know at the beginning of the season, his velocity was a mile an hour or two down. But I think over the last, once he got past that first month or two, he was hitting triple digits with that cutter again. So I don't think really stuff-wise much is going on or going wrong. I just have to believe that hitters just kind of feel more comfortable with him now. Now, I think that his numbers will positively progress, I guess I should say, because he hasn't been bad. It's just he hasn't been like that guy who, when Edwin Diaz went out prior to the season, we all thought, oh, Class A is basically a tier of his own for the closers, So
correct.
So you have to be a little bit disappointed if you have him rostered and you had to invest a really high pick for him. But outside of that, the good news is he has still gotten a ton of saves. He has been, reasonably productive. And I would expect a pretty good second half from him. I think that, potentially the buy low window is passed. Yeah. Maybe not, but maybe it has. But I think he'll have a solid second half moving forward. And I don't know, maybe he was a little bit overvalued. I think maybe next year, maybe he's a top 5 or 6 closer off the board instead of like top 1 or 2.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. And before we go any further, I will say something that I kind of remember we said when we did our positional breakdown in this department. This is by far the most volatile position out there. So you have to be careful when you're drafting these like A-list guys. If you look back every year, it feels like there's somebody who just clicked. Yep. And last year it was Class A, and this year it might be Bautista.
Yep.
And that's what makes a guy like Mariano Rivera so special, and what he was able to do year over year with the Yankees. You just don't see that all the time, man. And I'm not saying this guy is toast or regressing to the point where he's not usable. He's still great. I'm not sure there ever was a buy low window, man.
Right.
It's just that sinker or that cutter that just darted away. It was unhittable last year, and people are making good contact. So like you said, maybe they're just seeing it more. Maybe it's just not as sharp as it was. I have no worries about this guy, and if I drafted him, you can't really you're not starting him. I mean, unless you're just like a head-to-head week thing, you're up by 1,000 saves. And,
correct.
There are obviously always reasons not to start somebody the last day of a week, but he's awesome. He's awesome. This next guy, you can make a case, might have been a flash in the pan, and I hope I'm wrong. Ryan Helsley, we had him 4th on our list for the St. Louis Cardinals, and you can just, you say this guy's name, you forgot he even existed because of how bad St. Louis has looked this year, but this is kind of one of the many reasons why. He's currently pitching to the 141st relief pitcher, 3.24 ERA, a 1.16 whip, 33 Ks. He has 7 saves, 3 blown saves. He has just, he's been out since early June, so we'll start there. But he was out of control, man. Couldn't throw strikes and just didn't look sharp this season when he's been playing. What are you seeing from him?
Yeah, just you kind of summed it up there. The Cardinals have just been a train wreck the whole year. Helsley is one of the many on that roster that's just kind of not been themselves, you know. Obviously, if an injury played its part, who knows? We don't know if he was maybe dealing with this early in the season and it just maybe progressively got worse. But if you remember last year, though, even when the Cardinals won the division and obviously made the playoffs, there was a game in the playoffs that I remember last year that Helsley came in and just imploded.
Oh, yeah.
And last year was like his big breakout year to where he was dominant. And so I don't know. I wonder if that playoff start, or not the start, but him coming into that playoff game and just totally losing it.
Yeah.
I wonder if that maybe had a ripple effect on, you know, his confidence, something mechanical going on. I mean, who knows? But
was he going for the 2-inning save?
I believe so.
Game 2.
Yes.
They were down. They lost the first game, and they were up in the game, wanted to kind of close it out. He had a great 8th inning, and then imploded in the 9th. They lost the 3-game set versus the Phillies. Team of Destiny. La 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 la.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point. I didn't think about it. He really hasn't looked as sharp.
He hasn't been the same. So who knows? I mean, you know, I just point that out to say last year he was incredible in the regular season.
Yeah.
And then that outing in the playoffs, though, where he just absolutely imploded. I just wonder if, I mean, I don't know. Because here's the thing, like as an athlete, I don't, you know, especially a professional athlete, when you know that you're at the top of your game and you have all the confidence in the world, man, it's hard to stop guys that are like top 0.001 talent-wise in the world at something.
Yeah.
Plus, when their confidence is sky high, I mean, that's when you see guys at their peak level. But as soon as that confidence gets shaken for whatever reason, especially in a high pressure moment like that, it can really shake guys. And so I don't know. Who knows if that has any effect going into this year, but I just know that he hasn't been the same since then.
Yeah, still 80% rostered, so I don't know how buy lowy can you get. I mean, the thing is, he's going to be coming back from injury, and so you always have that kind of hope that maybe it'll click post coming back. And you're talking about a guy saving games for the Cardinals, which, I mean, they have just looked atrocious, like we've talked about. Now, obviously, this is a team who have a bunch of guys. Helsley is supposed to be back either late July, early August. And the reason why I bring that up is that trade deadline is August 1st.
Right.
Cardinals are a prime team to ship some guys off. So you might be trading for a closer who's not going to get that many opportunities because this team is just kind of, for all intents and purposes, just kind of giving up on the year.
To me, it'll be interesting from the Cardinals standpoint. Do they want to try to move forward to see if Jordan Hicks is maybe a 9th inning guy, because he's been their kind of, I don't know, de facto closer for the last few weeks? Do they want to hang in with a guy like Giovanni Gallegos? I mean, he's okay, but like it'll just be interesting to see kind of where the Cardinals, what they do in the next few weeks.
They should send Hicks down to the Florida Complex League to work on his throws to first base. Oh, my gosh, Will. Oh, my gosh. What a terrible throw. Okay. Man, that was so bad. Okay. A.J. Minter. Let's talk about our last dud. A.J. Minter was lights out last year, setup guy for one of the best teams in baseball in the Atlanta Braves. There was a lot of hope that if you're in a holds league, this dude was going to be the honeypot man. He was going to be awesome. He has not looked great. We had him 18th on our list of relievers. He's pitching to the 131st reliever, but these numbers speak worse than that. A 4.95 ERA, a whip at 1.1, 49 Ks, 10 saves, 11 holds. So the numbers are still there, counting stats-wise, but he's kind of roasting your ratios. He just hasn't looked sharp. In the beginning of the year, you could say he was being pushed in the closer role a little bit more than he needed to be. We've kind of talked about this, but how are you feeling at A.J. Minter? Are you going after him in a holds league?
Yeah, you kind of said it. I mean, in a holds league, if that's a category that you use for scoring, in my opinion, I think he still has some value because here's the thing. We talked about how good the Braves are. And Brian Snitker is very much an old school manager. And what I mean by that is he likes to stick to the same guys in the 7th, 8th, ninth inning as long as they're healthy. And so as soon as Iglesias came back and was their ninth inning guy, that slotted Nick Anderson back to the 7th inning. That slots A.J. Minter in the 8th, and then you got Iglesias in the ninth. And so I say all that to say, you said this just a second ago, but at the beginning of the season, we touched on this multiple times, but it was just very obvious to me Minter was not comfortable being the ninth inning guy.
Yeah.
Like his stuff didn't look as sharp. He was missing in the heart of the plate with breaking balls, and guys were just hitting it. And so he has looked much more comfortable in the setup role, and I think that's where he needs to stay. So I say all that to say, if you're in a holds league, I think he actually still has value because the Braves are going to have plenty of opportunities for holds. And Minter, since he's been moved out of the saves role, he hasn't been as good as he was a year ago, but the ERA is misleading because a lot of that came from when he was having to, try to close out games at the beginning of the season. And since he's been back in the setup role, he's been much, much better. So if you are in a holds league, don't let the ERA scare you off.
Yeah. You heard it here. Go get Minter straight out of the Will's mouth, guys. Hey, let's do it. Roman candle time, Will. Woo! 4th of July,
Sounds
baby.
like 4th of July.
Dude, okay, before we go any further, how was Roscoe on 4th of July? Was he okay?
Oh, man, it was rough. He's a little anxious guy, so I kept him downstairs with me, and we just kind of had to wait out the fireworks for a little bit. So, but we're all good now.
Good, man, good. Well, hey, speaking of fireworks, we might have some here in a moment because we have a conversation on our hands. Let's talk Week 14 results. Will is currently up 7-1, okay? But we're not done fighting, guys. He picked Adolis Garcia, and he had a great week. 7 for 24, 292 average, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, a 1.017 OPS. Pretty solid, Will. Pretty solid, Will. What about Kyle Tucker for me, okay? 8 for 23, a 348 average, 1 home run, 4 RBIs, and a 945 OPS. Okay. Here comes conversation time because it's Saturday night. I took a little peek at the box score, and my main man Tucker has a double and RBI, okay? So, this is close. I mean, I know I'm leading average, you're leading in everything else. But, I have more hits, but that's tied in with the average. But as far as counting stats go, you got 3 home runs to my 1. You got 7 RBIs to my 4, and your OPS is just a hair above mine. But I don't want you to give this to me. Well, okay, so how you want to do this? You want to, how do you feel? Because
man, this is. I mean, here's my honest thoughts. Like they have both been really good, and you can honestly make a legitimate argument either way.
Okay.
Yep. If someone favored Adolis Garcia, you would say his average was really good still.
Yep.
He had more home runs, he had more RBIs, and the OPS was higher. If if someone favored Tucker, you would say, well, his average was higher, and he had one more hit.
Here's what I was thinking about this because it's close. But I was thinking maybe we let the week play out, kind of like bookmark it, and then talk about it. I don't hate that idea, but I eventually want to land on who would you rather have in a head-to-head, like, set of stats.
Yeah.
And I think we can both agree it's Garcia. Right? You'd rather have 3 over 1 home run. You'd rather have 7 RBIs.
For sure. Because,
4.
Here's the thing. If you're in a head-to-head matchup,
yep,
that can be the difference in winning or losing a week.
Mm-hmm.
Without
a doubt.
those 3 RBIs or the extra 2 home runs, I mean, for sure. I mean, I would definitely buy that argument for sure.
Yep. All right. So I leave it to you. Are we up 8-1? You up 8-1? That magic number shrink by 1, Will?
I mean,
Got
if
your
you
speech ready.
hooked me up to a lie detector test, yes, I would say yes.
It's done. It's done. Congratulations, Will. Will Sism, 8-1. Oh man,
Dude,
oh,
you gave
man.
me a fight this week, though. I mean, I'm being totally honest. I don't think it gets any closer than that. Like, I really don't.
I will be excited the rest of the year, and don't think for a second we'll stop doing this, even if you get more than, because I have a good time with this. But I'm going to keep an eye on this. I think this is as close as it's going to be.
I do too.
I mean, that's pretty wild.
I will say though, like if people took our advice though, and like in some sort of a daily pick 'em or something like that,
Yeah.
you would have been happy with either one of those selections. I can say that.
True. I would just say going forward, maybe take Will's advice. Take Will's advice. For week 15, we're not making picks, and here's why. All-Star break until Friday, and then we'll get on the horn and talk maybe on Saturday, maybe before then. Will and I got something in the works that we might talk about next week, or maybe 2 weeks from now when you guys hear this. Might be crowning Will for something else, but we will leave that for another day. Before we go though, so yeah, no week 15 picks. We'll pick back up on this when baseball plays a full slate. It's gonna be fun. Our next episode is going to be episode 39. I realize as I piece together the outlines, we've kind of fallen into a little bit, I don't want to say rut, but like a groove, about the same segments. We've talked about different things, of course, but same segments. We are going to change it up on you guys for episode 39. So if you haven't loved this, boy, you're going to like the other one. We are doing a mid-season report card of every team in Major League Baseball. We're going to look at obviously where they're standing in the standings and then give them a grade. I think everybody listening to this is familiar with the grading scale, right, Will?
Yes. A,
yes.
B, C, D, or F.
F
And
would
don't
help.
think, and just like, not to give away the episode, but don't think like a team, for example, that comes to my mind really quick is the Nationals.
Yeah.
Just because they're last in the NL East right now does not mean that they're going to get a bad grade. So it's going to basically be kind of where we thought these teams might be heading into the year.
Mm-hmm.
Weigh that as a factor, and kind of what we've seen as far as on-field production and different things are going to weigh into our grades that we report on. So
Yep.
Yeah, it should be a really fun episode for any baseball fan out there.
It's going to be great. That's going to be 39. This has been 38. Will, anything you want to tell the people before we get out of here?
No, I would just say, if you were just a casual baseball fan, and obviously if you're a fanatical baseball fan like we are, you're going to watch the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game. But if you're someone that just casually watches baseball, I encourage you to sit down, make it a point to watch the Home Run Derby. I mean, that is arguably the most fun event of the year in the baseball season before we get to the postseason.
Correct.
And if you've never really sat down and really watched it through and through, just sit back and enjoy it. That would be my advice for the upcoming week. Take in the All-Star Game if you can. You know what? We're a few weeks away from the trade deadline, and these next couple of weeks, once the regular season picks back up at the end of next week, it is going to be very interesting to follow what a few teams do, because that's going to essentially make or break the trade deadline. So it's going to be really, really fun these next few weeks.
Dude, that is such a great point. We talk about it. It's a long season, but when you really look at it at a microscopic level, you're looking at the next couple weeks, like you just said, dude, it's going to tilt the tides of who makes what moves. And, we can speculate up and down all day long. Hey, there's going to be a lot of trades. There's not going to be a lot of trades. A lot of that's going to be hashed out in the next couple weeks. So we are looking forward to covering that for everybody. It's going to be great. We really appreciate you. If you made it to the YouTube side, thank you. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. It's going to be great. If you're listening audio only podcast version, Those are the day oneers. We appreciate that as well. Follow us on Twitter at BTH_Cody and at Willisism. Reach out and say hi. Make our days. Make our days. Guys, we've had so much fun covering the first half of this baseball season. Can't wait. Keep growing. Keep doing this thing, man. This has been a lot of fun, Will. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 38 of Bringing the Heat.